Here we are, another episode of Epicenter, where we feature people who are shaping today's digital economy and business influencers. I'm super excited to have Djoann Fal here, who is actually pioneering something that is truly unique in Asia in climate tech with his own fund. Djoann, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We've known each other for, I'm going to guess, like 10 years?
It's been 10 years.
10 years.
Don't look at my wrinkle.
Well, you're looking at look in the mirror here, right? Yeah, it's
crazy, yeah.
10 years, my God. And you have quite an amazing story of actually how you got over here to Asia. I mean, maybe you can just kind of tell the audience, who is probably pretty curious, who you are.
Yeah.
And what got you here, and yeah.
Yeah. So, Djoann Fal, I'm French, right? When you graduate from a business school, you have just a few choices. Either you do consulting in BCG or McKinsey or something like this, or you do a bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, that it's not going to be happy to have paid that expensive business school fees.
I'm sure.
So, London or Paris are the obvious choices, and then you have the more exotic choices. Obviously, New York and Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Shanghai.
Of course. Shanghai.
Of course, I choose Shanghai.
Oh, Shanghai.
Shanghai. And so, 2013, I arrived to work for Ernst & Young.
Mm-hmm.
First glimpse of Asia. And a big slap in my face, because being French, we only watch, documentaries about Asia with rice farmers and, those type of...
You're expecting to see people on bicycles.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then you arrive in Shanghai, boom, you see skyscrapers, like highways and SkyTrain. It's almost like flying cars, basically.
It's like the future.
It's like the future. It's like Star Wars, Coruscant, if you know Star Wars. It's like, wow, a big slap in your face. And then, you don't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, wow, this is some special energy. Everybody's young. Whereas, back in France, it's mainly old people in the street, right? And so you feel like everything is possible. And from there, I got the chance to be recruited by Rocket Internet, which was, the cool thing at the time.
Super cool. Those guys definitely changed the shape of startups globally.
Yeah, and 2014, first few months, I've seen this article on TechCrunch, the 3 biggest raised of 2014. So you had Uber, I think it was $700 million.
Yeah.
Then you had Pinterest at 550. And then you had Lazada, 350 million, that Rocket Internet company. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to check it out. And here I am in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, then Bangkok, working for Lazada. So that's how I arrived here.
That was quite a mafia there, right?
We still call it today the Lazada mafia. And to be honest, this was, I think, a very special moment in history for this region, where you had basically a bunch of Wall Street people, a bunch of ex-Googlers who were just parachuted in the middle of nowhere, in Southeast Asia to start e-commerce companies. And those brands have really created the digital economy here so much that most of the founded, tech companies and e-commerce companies in the region have been originated by those people. And I think this is beautiful, because that was the pitch of Rocket Internet, creating the next $1 billion economy in emerging markets, and helping the locals to access e-commerce. And that was kind of a social impact mission, actually, that they had in this introduction video that we watched. The Lazada episode.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, we used to actually have events here in Bangkok, and anytime like a rocket company was talking, it's like standing room only, right?
Yeah, it was fun. Zalora, Lazada. Yeah, there's been a interesting bunch of companies.
The good times. And then, so you were working there, and then what did you decided to start your own thing?
So, to be honest, I had no interest of, starting my own thing, being an entrepreneur. I just wanted to hang out. I was super young. I think I was 22,
You still
23.
are super young.
Yeah, but I was 10 years younger. So 22, 23 at the time. And I was just graduating from my master degree. Just wanted to hang out with other tech people.
And you were already here in Bangkok.
Yeah. And so at the time, I just thought, okay, my day job is very interesting. I was just doing, BI, basically, data stuff.
Yeah.
Connecting APIs with dashboards and basically creating marketing automated dashboards, so we could see, how much money we're spending in each channel for each countries. And we used to be managing regional budgets, so Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and so that was very data on-screen Excel programming type of job. So I was not meeting anyone. So I thought, okay, I want to meet some other people who work in tech here because I'm an expat.
Yeah.
I want to meet other people, and I want to meet locals who actually share the same, interest in tech. And so at the time, my friend in Silicon Valley, he was from my school, and he was doing his first job in Silicon Valley. He was like, you should start a networking event. And they had a cool name. They run these few events in San Francisco called Drinks Entrepreneurs. I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right, I'll try one. And here you go. We started Drink.
What was the name of it? Drink Entrepreneurs?
Yeah, in Bangkok in 2014.
I don't remember being at one of them, so it must have been successful because we were drinking.
You were there a couple of times.
I know I was there.
I think you were
I was actually at several of them, yeah.
Yeah, I think six time. If it's not you, it's Jonah.
Yeah.
And so, it's overnight. It became the first month, 50 people. Second month was 100 in another bar. And then third one was 300 at the Hive, the co-working space, for their opening, actually. 300 people, and we had a DJ, and we had that DJ is actually super famous now.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So you launched some people's careers.
No, she was really talented.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we had all these business tech guys there. I mean, for that one, the third edition, we had Pimu from Ukpi.
Yeah.
We had Piyod from Mongnai. Everybody that is, basically the sharks of the tech world now.
Yeah.
They were hanging out with us, at the time, back then. And then the fourth one went completely insane. We had the first conference in Southeast Asia, Echelon 2014. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember.
A small one, 600 people, but they wanted an after party, and they had no budget, no team. So they asked me and my friend to do one. And that's where, with another of my buddy from Lazada, we decided to co-organize this. And this one was 700 people.
Nice.
That was insane.
Yeah.
And so I ended up becoming part-time party organizer.
Okay. So you got what you came here for.
For tech people.
Data analyst by day, party analyst by night.
Yeah, it was really crazy because, I didn't expect that. And I made more money within that night than 2 months of my salary in Lazada.
Yeah, because
I quit.
They didn't pay.
And with my buddy, we thought, okay, let's just do these events once a month. And make money through sponsorships and ticket sales. And it was really fun to connect, tech CEOs with each other in a informal context with no business cards, just a small bar, and people can actually talk about their problems. Because when you're running a company, you cannot share that to everybody unless they really understand your industry. Hiring people, firing people, budget, all this stuff, this. And so that was kind of that safe place. And so we had everybody coming. The Line CEO was coming at the time. We had the Google CEO. And then we even started to have a corporate CEO. Like we had Nivea CEO. That 60 years old woman managing $1 billion CapEx. She was coming because she wanted to learn about startups. And so that's that 2014 year where I got out of Lazada and started my company. Accidentally a tech party organizing company, I guess, with my buddy Pop. And then this Pop became my co-founder. And we thought, okay, so what does these guys need? You know, if we have 600 tech CEOs coming in Bangkok, this is the whole ecosystem, right? All the agencies, all the e-commerce companies, they're all coming. What do they need? And there were two things they needed. Three. More clients, more people to work for them, and more money to invest in their companies.
Yes.
So we thought, let's do a platform so we can connect them for the recruitment. And that's how our marketplace started, GetLinks.
So you went from day job to night job back to creating your own day job.
Yeah, I did night job in Bangkok for 6 months.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So you founded GetLinks, co-founded GetLinks with your partner, right?
Yep.
And then actually you guys became quite successful here.
I think it's the momentum.
Yeah.
We accidentally built a lot of momentum with potential customers through that night job. It sounds wrong in Bangkok, but it's those parties connected us with a lot of CEOs like yourself who were starting their e-commerce company or their e-commerce enabling company.
Yeah.
And that relationship we had over a beer then transformed into a meeting at your office.
Yeah.
Like, okay, do you guys need to hire people?
Yes,
okay.
we do.
And here we go. And then you guys signed up and got into the platform. And then we added, So it was very natural momentum that we accidentally created. So we, but on top of that, it was, I think, the momentum we created once we realized that opportunity. Because I've seen a few years back in Europe, I've seen the explosion of the startup scene from nobody talks about tech to everybody is doing tech within a span of a few years. So I thought this might happen here too. And so I knew what framework were needed for an ecosystem like this to start. And so those networking events were important. Those pitch nights were important. Those hackathons were important. And those conferences were important. And thanks to the incredible people I met at the time, again, my co-founder Pop, and then our co-founder doing the technology A, we had that good team of technology, marketing, and operation to build basically the Swiss knife of what was needed for tech people. So that ended up leading us to building the first tech conference in Bangkok with 5,000 people, the Startup Job Festival, 2015.
Wow.
And I think from there, we had so much momentum that a lot of people wanted to do something with us, right? And so we got invited to 500 startups in Silicon Valley. So we're the first Thai startup to go to the accelerator in San Francisco, in Mountain View actually, and get funding from those US investors. Then we got invested from very large VC in Japan who wanted to have exposure in Southeast Asia. And then that's funded to do Vietnam. So I ended up going to Vietnam for a few years and do the same conference, 5,000 people in Vietnam for those tech recruiting aspect. And basically, we've just been opening countries after countries, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Philippines. Yeah. And here you go. Took 10 years of my life. And I didn't really realize anything. And I'm just like 10 years older. And that was very fast.
And so you exited from the company?
Yeah. So you
sold it?
That was the beauty of how lucky we've been being, I think, at the easy times, because it was luck that we engineered, but it was also the environment, right? So I had the chance to scale the company to basically 10 million annual revenue, US dollar, I'm talking, across 6 countries, and that was sexy, right? There's not many B2B platforms in that region that are making 10 million US dollar a year and growing.
Yes.
And so Alibaba came in as one of our investor and client. and then JobsDB. The owner of JobsDB actually came in as our investor, and that's how I could get a bit of cash for myself, and it's been a long story. We have got really a lot of different experiences. It's been hard at some point, We've been through a lot. During COVID, we thought we're gonna die. Then actually we ended up turning the company around and becoming profitable. So it haven't been easy. But I think thanks to the combination we had with, me being French and my other co-founders being Chinese and Thais, with different level of experience, the marathon, there were always one dude running.
Yeah.
And that's what makes that company still alive today. But one of our co-founders is running the company. So that's good for me.
Yeah.
My first baby is alive.
Your first baby is alive and growing, right?
It's growing. So I think it's a lucky one. I think today there's so much competition in technology. It would be a different story, right? But we were in a blue ocean at the time.
Yeah. Speaking of blue oceans, right? I think that you went from being a startup founder, working in a startup, to being a startup founder. Then, as you progressed, you actually started mentoring startups, right? And funding startups.
So,
with a focus.
Yeah, right? With a focus in sustainability. In fact, this activity in sustainability started even before my technology experience in Asia.
Yeah, where did that come from?
So when I was a student back in France, I went to a conference. It was called the We Share conference.
We Share.
Yeah, okay. Sharing economy.
Yeah.
And I met a crazy dude who basically was a lab guy, PhD in biotechnology, and he wanted to create a space for other PhDs to hack. And I was like, this guy is crazy. He's doing really deep tech stuff. I'm interested. So we became friends. And we started with a bunch of other PhDs, a makerspace or a hackerspace in Paris that was using technology for good. Now, that thing was with zero money. It was not even an NGO yet. It was just a space in an abandoned train station in Paris.
Sounds suspicious.
It sounds suspicious. And we used to run, meetups for, we had design school and business school, and they just wanted to learn how to use, lab equipment to do cool, fun stuff. So we had designers who wanted to make art with bacteria.
Was that the train station that the spider that Peter Parker and turned into Spider-Man?
It could have been, I'm telling you. And so that was like 13 years ago before I came here. And so we were doing those meetups, and one day the police came and shut us down because we had illegal lab equipment. We could do DNA sequencing at the time.
Oh my God. Like, who knows what the police thought you were doing.
We could have created virus and stuff. Of course, we were not doing that stuff. Yeah. We're just, having fun. And a bunch of people were just computer hackers. They just wanted to have a server where they could run fun stuff. Another bunch were doing robots. Some other were doing 3D printing. Some other were doing actually DNA sequencing. But they were all students, and they just wanted a safe place where they could do their stuff without to be at school, because the school closed pretty early, right? And so that space shut down by the police, and we made the news. And the news was Le Monde, L'Observateur. The article is still there. You can check it out. It's called La Paillasse. Okay. And it's got us a lot of press. So much that the mayor of Paris invited us to do a meeting. And she really liked the idea, actually, of creating a safe space for anyone to learn technology, even though they're not in an expensive school of engineers or anything. And she gives us $1 million, euro actually, to start an actual space legally with the NGO. And so that was my first, step into sustainability, creating that maker community for good. So we had a bunch of people who just wanted to use technology for good, either enabling people to access, robots, build robots, or 3D printing, or electronics. And basically, it was really much anything that could make the world better. Right. So sustainability applied to robotics, or sustainability applied to biotechnology, and that thing got to create a bunch of startups that are now worth a lot of money. One of them, for example, that was just a bunch of students at the time. They wanted to hack with bacteria, that bacteria that is in the octopus. So maybe you know already, but the octopus have this black ink.
Yes.
So it's actually generated by a bacteria inside the octopus. And so if you farm that bacteria, you can create ink without using oil. See where I'm going?
Yeah.
And the oil used to create your colors and your t-shirt it's a lot of oil.
Oh, yes.
It's a very heavy process, really polluting, using a lot of water, a lot of oil, a lot of energy.
What is it? I think it's like takes 2,000 liters to dye to make one t-shirt, right? It's crazy.
And so
I was in the t-shirt business, by the way, for a little while.
So you know how dirty
Story for another time.
This ink industry and fast fashion is. And so these guys were a bunch of students taking that new process, taking those bacteria from the octopus and making ink basically with zero energy.
Wow, that's cool.
And so now this company is worth $100 million. It's called Pili.
Okay.
And it's been originated from that makerspace 13 years ago.
Wow.
So it's just one of the examples. We've got like 30 or 40 different companies who's got to spin out of this makerspace. And so my sustainability story started way before GetLinks.
Okay.
It's just that I got too attracted by the money, e-commerce. And so I left my buddies, abandoned them for 10 years to do e-commerce and make a lot of money.
So sustainability wasn't sexy enough, was it?
It was not, because it was just NGO stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, we were depending on the budget from the government. And at any time, the government, we had only that pocket of money, and that was going down every month. So as a fresh graduate, I couldn't start my career being CEO of this NGO because it's just, limiting myself so much. And on top of that, I had no fucking idea of what I was doing. Yeah. I was the only business guy, and I was just a student in master,
Yeah.
So how was I going to do any business? So I thought it would be a better bet for me and my group of friends to actually go have an experience in another continent in actual business and technology to potentially later come back to that thing. Because that's where my heart was.
This was kind of like almost, when you look back, right, you can now plot these dots of where you started, where you went, and it's almost like a full circle. But with a lot of experience, with the know-how of basically how to build a business, sustainability, and if we fast forward to where you are today, right? You're knee deep in environmental technology, climate tech.
Yeah, I see that more like my first girlfriend at university that I abandoned.
Oh, okay.
And that because I was not ready.
Okay.
And then 10 years later, we come back and get married.
Is that the one?
Basically, that's what I'm marrying now.
Wow.
Right? Like climate tech.
Yes, absolutely.
Tech, right? That's where I'm putting all my money, all my contacts, all my time now. But it took 10 years of experience and maturity to be finally ready to do that.
I have to say that, you started writing a blog and a newsletter about this, about Atlas, your fund, right? And climate tech. And actually, that's been my source of learning. But not only that, it's also been my inspiration.
Thank you so much.
that one day when I'm no longer at the apps flyer seat, I'm going to come work for you.
Please,
I'm with
keep
my future
walking,
boss here.
Keep walking as flyers and do cool things like you're doing today in the meantime, and help Apps Flyer to be greener.
Oh yeah, we're definitely doing that.
Or doing more impact,
Yeah.
you know? And I think just like, you remember 10 years ago, we talked about this, right? No one talked about tech. And now every company is a tech company.
Yeah.
I think we're at the very dawn of that new process of transforming every companies to be a green company.
Yeah.
And
so important.
10 years from now, I think we'll look back at this podcast and be like, oh yeah,
that was
the old days.
The old days set the trend.
Right? And but the thing is, I think it's accelerating much faster. Like it might not even be a 10-year cycle. It might be just a 5-year cycle. If you look at the amount of money that is being deployed in green tech companies at the moment, we're talking about something that is, 4 times bigger than the internet bubble. So the whole internet bubble that created Google, Facebook, Amazon, those guys, they've raised only $22 billion US. Only last year, the climate tech thing have raised 69 billions. So we're totaling for the past 4 years, 147 billion US dollar.
Is there more money than ideas out there right now?
Yes. That's the actual problem.
That's the problem.
You pointed it out. There's too much money and not enough entrepreneurs.
So everyone, all these investors and funds
just don't
and
know where to
companies,
invest.
they want to invest in this, but they just don't know where to put it.
Yeah.
And that probably is the biggest problem. Like,
that's the problem.
How do you vet something that is actually sustainable, that works, and that is going to change the world? And I guess that's probably...
And bankable funders. So right now you have, out of these 140 plus billion US, you have 90% of it is dry powder that is slowly dripping. But yeah, this money is going to be deployed in the next few years. So that's why I'm saying, I think it might not even take 10 years. It might just take 4 or 5 years because that's usually the deployment cycle of these funds. So, yeah.
What is some of the stuff that you are seeing right now in environmental tech, clean tech, that's really making you excited and making you hopeful that the future is brighter than a lot of people think it's going to be?
We can do short term, mid term, and long term. So short term, 2 weeks ago, we've done our biggest deal actually. I can talk about it now because it's public. So we facilitated $15 million US investment into a company that is in the US and does sustainable aviation fuels. Their process is basically sucking in CO2 from the air and recombining that carbon into methane and other products. And one of them is actually creating sustainable aviation fuels.
Is that in real time?
Yeah. It's a hardware company.
Plane can be flying?
Yeah.
And
So that company got a big letter of intent from United, the airline in the US, and a few others. We're talking about $200 million pre-acquisition. So for the next 10 years, United will fly using that fuel, and that's very good for the company because United then is dropping its CO2 emission by 30% or something like this. And so that round was $300 million US. So that's Series C. It's quite late, but this is something very sexy because you're touching infrastructure here. You're doing factory stuff, and this is something that is proven already. That's just at scale, and you really touch entrepreneurs and teams that are making the impact. It's not an idea. It's not moonshot. It's not like, oh, maybe in the future we're going to do quantum. It's we can use that stuff today, and we can work with conglomerates like the airlines to get them to reduce their CO2 emissions like yesterday, actually. So that's an exciting deal. we worked on, and that's one of the biggest deals we've done so far, and we're happy to
Congrats, that's super
to
cool.
work on that. Now, I think there's a lot of excitement this year about what we call SAFs, Sustainable Aviation Fuels, where my midterm interest is more into what we call the built environment, decarbonization, and specifically adaptation. So if you look at all the deals that we've done with Atlas Capital, with our first pilot fund, we've done 10 deals. They were all connected somehow to making the cities adapted to climate change. And this is something where being based in Singapore, and having this exposure to Southeast Asia, we see how heat waves are impacting us.
Yeah.
And also we see how air conditioning systems are so important for life.
You've just come back to, Bangkok, not recently, right?
Yeah.
And
2
you
days
feel
ago. Yeah, the heat wave.
it's intense.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And I was in France and Europe for the past 2 months, and it was cold. We had to light the fire at my place.
In the chateau that you were staying in.
This was just a night, but yeah, that heat is insane, and it's not just about I have a cool aircon anymore. It's if there's no aircon, I might be dying. Like there's been cases,
Yes,
and not one. There's been
multiple,
thousands of cases of people dying from heat, and that's not just in Southeast Asia. That's also in the US. And there's that case of that woman of 62 years old. She was living in Phoenix, Arizona, and she forgot to pay $1 out of the $51 she was due to her electricity provider. And there's been a heat wave. 4 hours later, she died for $1.
Oh.
Electricity provider just cut the electricity, that's automated mechanism. And with no aircon, that woman died. And 60 years old, yes, it's an older person, but she was not, obese or anything. She could be your mom, like my mom.
My mom's a little bit older.
and she was not, having any specific factors. Sense, So this is in the US. This is not in the middle of the jungle. So if you look at Southeast Asia, the air conditioning systems, the heating and cooling specifically, gonna need to be very solid. Because in 2023, Southeast Asia had faced 52 days of heat waves on average. But in 2024, we're talking about 75 already. That is planned. So what about 2025, right? And so that air conditioning system is a matter of life and death. So I think this is where I'm excited, how to retrofit, how to renovate those air conditioning systems to be using less power and emitting less greenhouse gases. Because of course, if you live here, you're gonna have your aircon all day long.
So there's a technology
there's a lot of technologies that we've been looking at into that space. We've done investment into that space as well.
What's an example of like what it can do?
So one of our portfolio company, I will show you one example, and one of the company we're investing in now.
Okay.
One of them is actually doing building retrofitting. So they are actually creating isolation material that can isolate the room better. So the effort of your air conditioning is reduced by 50% because it doesn't need that much work and leg work to cool your room. So insulation of your room, your office, is actually a big factor of keeping the cool air inside. That's one of our investment of a company in the US. They're based in Chicago. And of course, they could apply their technology in Southeast Asia if we find the right partner. So we hooked them up with a hotel chain, actually, and now they're talking together to implement that isolation materials. Another example, it's a company in the UK that is actually also with a really big potential for Southeast Asia. They do what we call heat pumps. So it's a new system. It's actually a very old system, but they are putting it in a new fashion. So it's cheaper, and this is more scalable and mobile. So, when you have an air conditioning system, you need to drill the hole, and then you need to plug it into electricity, and that's greenhouse gas emitted, because we use xenon and other gas that are quite hard to produce to cool the air. So this one is just pumping the air from the outside inside. And that process can be just installed, plug and play, on your window. You don't need to drill a hole. You just that's it. So this company is the next billion-dollar company for Southeast Asia. I won't tell the name because, that's... But if you guys want to learn more about those type of deals, we do have a lot of interesting companies we are investing in. So this, I think, is the future for Southeast Asia, the built environment. And this is very much what we've been focusing on for the past 2 years through our investment and also through our next fund investment thesis. Yeah.
Tell us about Atlas a little bit. Like, what's the, how can the audience maybe possibly get involved with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so Atlas Capital is Southeast Asia first fund in technology that is dedicated solely on climate technology adaptation for the built environment and industrial mitigation. So what do we do? It's simple. We work with conglomerates in Southeast Asia that have a large footprint, industrial footprints. I'm talking gigatons of CO2. And we help them decarbonize their value chain. So mainly, it's going to be real estate, hotel chains, construction companies, and also all these big industrials like logistics, companies, for example. And what we do is simple. We source companies for them. We let them invest directly into these companies, and we co-invest with them in some of the companies as well. So far, we've done our first pilot fund 2 years ago, with 10 investments. And now we're doing a second fund, aiming for 30 investments into climate technology companies in the US and also in Southeast Asia. So that's Atlas Capital.
And what's the current size of the fund?
So for the second fund is 25 million US.
Okay.
And then we have a pilot fund, which is very small. We do this pilot fund once a year for $1 to $2 million US. So we have two different customers. One customer are the large conglomerates and family offices that can invest, $1 million US minimum per check. And then you have the small fund, which is basically for our tech friends and stuff, and this is the $20,000 US ticket. So pretty much any business owner can participate to this one if they want to diversify from, stock markets, real estate, maybe some of them do crypto. So we're not in the same bucket of crypto, of course.
Right.
For us, it's hardware. But
there's even green crypto, right?
There's been, but in fact,
I think there's a company in Canada that is actually carbon neutral on Bitcoin mining.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's called Sato, SATO, and they're listed on some exchange there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't do crypto though, and we're very cautious on the investments we're making. We invest only in hardware, physical stuff with bankable funders that made either an exit before or had worked in the industry of the product they're making, and a CTO that have a PhD in science in the domain that they're applying here, and already existing customers that are buying their product. And this have to be carbon neutral or help greatly on the adaptation of the industry to climate change. So we have a set of very specific criteria, and I think that's what made us to have such great performances. Over the past 2 years, we've beaten the market, the stock market, 11.4 times. So if you have invested, $10 in the stock market, and if you had invested $10 in Atlas, well, we've got some pretty good, results so far. But yeah, it's a long game.
Yes,
it's a long game.
That's super awesome.
Thank you. It's really interesting. The people we're meeting every day are really dedicated to change the
There
planet.
must be so much passion
Yeah.
in these founders, right?
Yeah.
And what like have you found like a common thread between founders, of these type of companies, like something that drives them to do this? Like, is there, something that you've noticed? What?
Well, if it's fake, we will feel it, or I can feel it when I talk to them, and we just don't want to hear about them. So a lot of people are here for the money. They don't care really about the planet, or they don't care really about climate. They just see, oh, there's an opportunity. Oh, I'm gonna make money. So those people usually are the carbon credit bros, and so we don't touch that. It's kind of the first step when you get into climate tech. The first thing you think, oh, I can help, is doing a software for carbon credit accounting. So not everyone is a bad carbon credit bro. Okay, so a lot of people just discovering this as a first entry step into that whole continent of climate tech. So that's fine, but you quickly, if you're curious enough and if you're really motivated enough to do something for the planet, you will realize that there's something way more interesting, a bit further in there. For example, I don't know, batteries, recycling batteries, or agriculture tech, or AWD, or heating and cooling, or logistics decarbonization. There's so many more interesting topics than carbon credits. So usually you will see those people going a bit further than that. And yeah, the passion is really, I think, something that people have in common who works there, because it's a nascent industry. So you might not be making as much money as if you work for a finance company, or for fintech, or for whatever, e-commerce company. So it's really a bet that those people are taking on their career. And like every other industries, all these startups, 99% of them will die. But the 2%, the 1 or 2% that will survive, they will be the next Google and Apple of these industries. And we're talking about energy here. So who is the next PTT? Who is the next Total? Who is the next ExxonMobil?
Yes.
Who is the next, real estate? You have GLL, right? Who is the next real estate developer? It's gonna be a green real estate developer, right? So that's the 1% we're looking at.
Do you have any views on electric vehicles?
Yes.
And batteries?
Okay, so let's step back a little bit and be very cautious on this topic, because it's a sensitive one. So if you look at...
I asked because we've had several people on the podcast talking about the EV revolution.
Yeah. So the overall GHG emission is a pie like this. It's like, can I have your glass?
Yep, there you go.
So this is the total amount of GHG we emit per year.
Yep.
100%.
Okay.
Right? And so I think we're at 35 gigatons of CO2 per year.
Okay. Sounds like a lot.
It's a lot. All countries combined now.
Yeah.
So if you remove China and India, if you just take Europe, for example, you're at 6 gigatons, right? And Europe is a market where we sell a lot of EV cars. So here, and then if you look at how much CO2 those cars in Europe emit, it's just this. It's less than basically 10%. The same amount of CO2 is emitted by the heating systems of Europe houses. Okay? So just the heating of the houses in winter is about,
10%.
Yeah, 10%. Now, the investment amount that EV got compared to any other verticals in climate is this, in terms of investment amount. So is this an industry that we need? Maybe we need EV cars. Do we need that much funding in there? No.
So it's overfunded.
It's overfunded, and the impact is very, very minimum compared to other
It's
verticals.
like $10 to get
Yeah.
one.
So I think this is, of course, a good.
I think that's mine.
I'm not blaming Yes, actually, this one. I'm not blaming anyone doing EV. I just think there is more important subject matter. Decarbonizing airlines, decarbonizing logistics. The shipping, global shipping is nearly
Huge
30% of the global CO2 emission. Industrial logistics and shipping. So whereas cars is just 7%. So yeah, there's other priorities. If you're true to yourself, if you're not here just for the sake of being cool and do climate, if you actually care about your child's future, and if you are scared about heat waves, forget EVs.
Okay.
Right.
Focus
Industrial
on something else.
decarbonization is more important.
Okay.
Real estate decarbonization is more important. The alternative to air conditioning systems are more important. But again, we need everything to make a world. But for us, we focus on industrial decarbonization and real estate decarbonization.
So what does the everyday person do about this? Like, how do they make an impact?
I can share with you an example of a company we met yesterday. Okay. So this company is doing insulation materials. So these insulation materials are basically 90% less CO2 consuming, and they protect the temperature indoor much better. So yeah, that's a game changer for the heating and cooling of real estate. And probably most hotels and buildings are going to have to use these new type of materials. It's a $150 billion industry, the home energy retrofitting industry. And so they are doing that with robots. So they have robots assembling panels. It's a mix of wood and air and paper. And it cannot burn because there's that specific material that they're using. So you're also making that house to be fireproof and heat resistant and cool resistant. So all with robotics. So you can see that they're creating a second skin of the house, basically at very cheap cost and very low labor. That company is called Labs, for example. So that's a very interesting company we looked at. Another company we looked at, for example, last week was Kettle. They are doing real estate insurance for climate. So a lot of with 1.5 degree temperature changes, you have I think 250% more chances to have extreme weather events, which means we passed that already last year. So now we're towards 2 degree, right? Which is more like 800% chance to have more extreme weather events, flood, heat wave, wildfires, and those. So something that's going to happen, you want it or not, is your houses and real estate is going to be impacted by that, right? So more floods and things like this. So you need an insurance. So you're going to make a lot of money selling insurance. So one of the companies we look at is doing that. They're doing insurance, but only for climate change. And they're already profitable, just started like a year ago.
Wow. That's...
So you just need to think, a bit on the other. If everybody goes to EV, you wanna look
somewhere else,
right?
Hydrogen. I don't know.
Yeah. So another company. Don't get me started.
So I do want to get you started on something that is important, because you talked about kind of the past, how you got from where you started to now. And if you look forward, I don't know how many years in the future, right? And then from that point, you look back. What do you want your legacy to be?
So I don't have kids yet, but I probably will have some. The first thing is I want to be able to tell my kids that I've been one of the 1,000 person who really did something that helped this generation, my kids, to not be completely fucked. So I want to be considered as one of the 1,000 person who helped unfuck the planet.
Unfuck the planet.
Unfuck the planet. So that's the legacy I want to build. And I think this rings the bell with a lot of people. Not only in Asia, but in the West. I spend a lot of time in Europe. I spend time in the US, and we have a lot of people joining us now. We have created that community of investors in climate and founders in climate. It's called the Climate Tech Coalition. And we have 1,000 members now that all together, mostly are investors, all together gather 2.7 billion US dollar. So this is firepower. Across all the different VCs we have, that's just in a WhatsApp group.
Wow.
Right? So there's a lot of firepower in there, and that's much bigger than me already. I'm just, putting the party together, right? It's not in a bar, it's on a WhatsApp group.
That's the new bar, isn't it?
That's the new bar, the WhatsApp group, the newsletter. And that community, I think, is going to grow to $10 billion asset under management soon. So it's much bigger than just my Atlas fund.
Right.
But I think the firepower that this community is going to have is going to get us to be part of these 1,000 people who are unfucking the planet. And hopefully we'll get on Wikipedia at some point for this. But that's for my kids. For myself, I want to build a small village somewhere that is totally climate proof. So I was in France looking at a few places and terrains and lands potential to buy something there with a few friends, where all the innovations that we have been investing in, that cool air conditioning system that I just talked about, the plug and play, these new isolation materials, the food production, everything is climate proof. So even though we might have, plus 2 degrees, my house and my friends' houses, we always have that holiday home that is pretty solid, in case shit hit the fans. I don't think a bunker will do. I think this is more cool, but it's gonna be like, in a secret land somewhere. So that's what I want to do. Having that land with a few of my friends and investors, and we share that land, and we can go there anytime. And if we want to, we can have our kids there. And all the innovations, or at least the most important innovations we've been banking, actually are showcased in that small village. This is what I'm working on next.
Would that be called like a Village de Unfucked?
The Unfucked City.
The Unfucked City.
There's this book I like from Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World. It's that dystopia where he painted basically a future where human lost his soul to technology, and it's quite scary, But if you look at it now, our life is pretty much Brave New World. I invite you and your listener to check out that book, Brave New World, and they will realize that AI is running their life every day through the algorithms and a lot of the stuff that this guy have wrote into that book is basically just
that was
prediction.
written a long time ago. I can't even remember when.
It's 90.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I think it's 1920s or something. And so everybody knows about Brave New World, but he actually, at the end of his life, after I've been thinking about so many different pathways for humanity, he wrote an utopia, which was the answer to Brave New World, which could be a potential pathway for the future. And that answer, this utopia, is called Pala. Pala. And guess what? Pala is an island in the middle of Southeast Asia, which is the last bastion of humanity, and they have reinvented completely humanity to be super sustainable. And that's how I would call my city.
Super cool.
Yep. Yeah, so I think in the meantime, it's about focusing funding into vital innovations for the planet. And again, not the obvious ones. It's all about digging a bit deeper, looking at those numbers. How many percentage of CO2 is there? Is that really worth my time? Are those founders just here for the money, or are they here because they really care about solving the problem for their kids, right? And is that technology something that can actually be scaled? Because a lot of those technologies are just bullshit. They're just moonshots. Just like every industry.
Well, you do need moonshots, right? But you also need companies like yours to sift through the moonshots and find what.
Exactly. And so that's where we can help angel investors to do that screening, because we have teams of engineers and PhDs who know those technologies. And I think this is helping getting the capital focused on innovations that are actually worth it. And overall, people will lose less money into random stuff. And so I think that's kind of the mission we are having at the moment, so that a few years later, we'll have the chance to build Pala.
Dude, this has been so exciting. I mean, I don't want it to end, but everything, there's always a beginning and there's always an end, and then there's a new beginning. And I want to do a quick fire round with you before we wrap this up. What do you say? So you just mentioned Brave New World is your favorite book, but what book would you recommend?
Actually, The Island.
The Island.
And Pala is...
Pala. Yeah. So that's the book you would recommend.
The book is named Pala, from Andreas Clay.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Give first.
Give first. So do you like playing video games, playing music, or traveling?
I do 3 of these at the same time.
All 3 at the same time?
Yeah,
I mean, while playing music and listening to video games?
Honestly, I play a lot of music. I have actually the video documentary that my girlfriend is doing. My fiance. Yeah. It's a documentary about climate solutions, talking about positive innovations and showcasing positive innovators that are actually moving the needle. And the music in those documentary is from my band.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy, I know.
What do you play?
I barely play now, but these are a lot of old songs that we had.
What instrument?
I can play bass mainly, but I have a cello as well.
Wow, cool.
And I can play a bit of piano and guitar, but so that she's using the old songs that we created, and it's quite fun. So that's a bit of music, and video games. Sometimes I just feel so frustrated because I know too much about climate change, and so you just get very depressed. So it's good to leave the world and get into World of Warcraft for 1 day or 2, and then come back in. So I play World of Warcraft and I play Age of Empire with my friends during COVID a lot, but we don't play that anymore. But through COVID, we played video games. And traveling, well, it's not really that I like traveling too much anymore. I prefer to stay home, and I just enjoy being with myself a lot at home. But unfortunately, sourcing those companies, it takes a lot of face-to-face, going to see the factory of this startup before you invest in them, talking to investors face-to-face is very important through the fundraising. So unfortunately, I only spend maybe 4 months per year in Bangkok or in Thailand or in Asia, actually. So it's not like I want to travel, but it's just part of the job now.
France or Thailand, who has the best food?
I'm French, so I miss French food, but I appreciate Thai food a lot. Yeah.
So describe your journey.
Yeah.
From basically working in startup to being a startup founder to being a startup investor in 3 words.
A crazy green roller coaster.
Nice. And is there or who is the most inspiring person for you today?
I'm constantly looking for someone else to look up to.
Mm-hmm.
And I get inspirations from a lot of people I meet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be this guy like Elon Musk or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like every 2 or 3 months, I'm going to meet someone very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try to pick one or two things from him or her. So it changes constantly. I have a few names, but yeah, like it changes a lot.
Well, if I have to take what you said, probably the most inspiring person to me right now is you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This has been excellent. Thanks a lot and if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe because, we need more support, and share this episode because I think it's an awesome one. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Ronen.
All right. That's a wrap. A version of this interview can be found on the YouTube page of AppsFlyer. For more information about our show, go to www.oneepicenter.co. This podcast is sponsored by AppsFlyer and co-produced by Nico Marco and Anupam Kumar.